Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca for a hopefully slightly more normal chatty catch up on my week in reading. Everything that I read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading, as well as some general lifey chit chat. So I didn't read very much, so I only have one thing to catch up on. I am also working through the ends of the Free to Climb series, but I'm going to check in when I'm finished with that. I am on the last book of that, and I'm audiobooking it. So the one thing I finished was actually just a graphic novel. Sorceline, Volume 1, written by Sylvia, Douyé, illustrated by Paola Antista, and translated from French by Ivanka Hahnenberger. So this one is a middle grade comic, and I think only the first volume is out right now. So I enjoyed it a lot because of the art and the ideas behind this. It is a very cool idea that reminds me a lot of the TV show Wednesday. So if you like that and want kind of a simpler version that's very whimsical and fantastical, definitely check this out. We're following a character named Sorceline as she's going to a magic school on the Isle of Vorn. And this island has a confluence of magical beasts, basically, cryptids. And so the students are going there to learn the craft of cryptozoology, where they're getting specialized in the care and healing of magical beasts. And so that idea, fantastic. And the art is full color all the way through. I did read this on my tablet, and I would say you kind of need a color tablet if you're going to do that. And it is vertical rather than horizontal for sure. But it was gorgeous art, start to finish. So that had me very immersed in this world. Unfortunately, I don't know whether it was the writing or the translation. The actual storytelling was a little rough, and I don't think that's because it was super young, but it was very disjointed, very broken up, and I don't think I'm the only one who has had that complaint. I'm pretty sure I heard about this from Shannon Riddler, and I want to say that she also had problems with the storytelling. So unfortunately, that didn't live up to how grand and wonderful this world and the setting were in terms of ideas and also the art. So I say 5 stars for ideas and art, and maybe 2 stars for the storytelling. So that is all I finished for this week. I actually had paused this, but I'm now fully focused on reading Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhurst, the third and final book in the Between Earth and Sky trilogy. And unfortunately, I am struggling with this, I think mostly just because of my mental state right now. And that is a real bummer. I had thought about just DNFing it right now and coming back to it, but I do want to push through and finish this and then come back and do a full trilogy read. So I'm going to keep plowing forward on this one because I think this is a continuous 3-book trilogy where there are no breaks between books. I believe it will benefit greatly from a reread, start to finish. So I'm going to plow forward this week. That's my main goal. And as I said, in terms of things that I'm really working on, it's that and also finishing the Free to Climb series. I additionally have now 3 things that I've got groups of books to wrap up for you all. I just need to film, and I've not had the will or energy to do so. In terms of this coming week, I think that will continue is I just need to get the energy to film, and you will see some of those wrap-ups coming because I wanted to this week and I didn't get to it. I believe that's all for books that we're going to talk about for now, at least until I get my wrap-ups out later this week, hopefully. In terms of watching things, I finished up a couple of things that I have been watching over the past 2 weeks that I really needed to dive into to get my brain off of everything. So not very substantial, but multiple series of shows I watch regularly are older series, I think, that were recently added to streaming services. So I watched Great Chocolate Showdown, which is a Canadian chocolate/baking competition that's on Hulu. And I watched, I think, the 3rd season of that. I watched the 11th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, which I think is from 2020. And concerningly, it had a lot of political stuff in it that was very heartbreaking to see right now. Yeah. And I also finished, I can't remember what seasons, whatever the newest season of Face Off that was recently added onto Netflix. And I enjoyed all of them. They were exactly what I needed at the time. So that was a massive success in terms of watching all of those things and just binging and shutting off my brain. And I think that is it for things that I finished this week in terms of series. But I did also borrow a movie from Hoopla, which I don't do a ton of. And that was The Remarkable Journey of Harold Fry, based on a book. And it's a fairly recent movie starring Jim Broadbent and Patricia Wilson, who I love and are the main reason that I borrowed it. I didn't love the movie. I was very complete opposite ends of the spectrum on this book because it was well acted. It's a good film, but it has a weird mix of incredibly trite, overly fluffy stuff, especially at the beginning, and then goes to very dark places. So we're following Harold Fry at the very beginning. He gets this letter from a woman he knows from his past who he worked with, and she is in hospice dying of cancer. So kind of a dark start, but he becomes determined. So he's writing a letter back to her and goes to mail it and becomes determined that he's going to immediately at that point start walking across England to her, and that somehow is going to save her life. That's going to keep her living if he walks to her. So he just does it. He doesn't have anything, he doesn't go stock up on anything, he just starts walking. And I just couldn't get into that premise right away. I had a hard time with that. There were a lot of things that were, as I said, just very trite early on, a lot of reliance on unreasonable decision-making and luck throughout the story. But then it goes really hard as he's journeying along. He's facing this relationship because he's spending so much time alone and quiet and thinking. He's facing the relationship that he has with his son and some very massive hardships in the past with his son. And that gets really, really grim and graphic even on screen. And so the balance just felt super strange to me. But also at the same time, I was enjoying the performances, and I kind of allowed myself to check out my brain and just go with it and be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of nonsensy, but okay, we're gonna go with the whole premise of this. I don't back any of this, but okay. And it was entertaining. So I don't regret watching it. It definitely ruled out my desire to read the book. And very often if I'm on the bubble about reading a book that's been adapted, I will do that. I will watch the movie and then go, oh, okay, I don't need to read that book. Again, that's about what I did here. So that's it for the stuff that I watched this week to completion, I think. In terms of my week, it's been a little chaotic. I think in terms of my mental space up to today, I was feeling a little better today, and I actually am still feeling much better today. I've accepted the insanity and chaos that is America right now, the United States, a little bit. Things have only gotten even more absurd and bizarre in the past week, so I think we have 4 years of that to face. But as you can tell, I rearranged my bookshelf. That was something I had wanted to do after my book haul, so I did that. I'm not sure if I want to move my Susanna Clark's over here and swap around, so this whole shelf is for Sylvia Gwyn. I don't know. That's the one iffy thing. But that made me feel good. I'm definitely in a mental space where I kind of just immediately react to feeling bad, I guess. Just when I'm feeling down or bad, I want to purge. I want to get rid of everything. Not my books, but I do want to clean and go through and really think about the stuff that I have. And so I've been trying to resist doing that rashly and just making sudden decisions. But I do kind of want to just go through and do a deep, a spring fall cleaning basically right now. So yeah, I think I'm going to do at least a little bit of that this week. My whole weekend has been thrown a bit off kilter though, as of this morning, because my foster cat got very sick this morning. Unknown what's going on, but he was throwing up and going to the bathroom constantly, and don't know, but he fortunately stopped right before I had to take him to the vet, of course. But he got some anti-nausea medicine, and he's feeling definitely better right now. So hopefully that keeps up and it just turns out to be a random thing. I don't know what's going on, but it really destroyed my whole morning. I didn't manage to do anything or read anything basically at all. So my whole day is shot now. I wasn't even sure I was going to be filming, but I'm here. And tomorrow I do have stuff planned, so I'm gonna have to probably try to minimize those plans to be at home with him for the most part. And perhaps that will mean some reading unless he continues to be sick, and then it will be chaos and probably emergency vet visits. So that's been an interesting twist to my week. Otherwise, I believe that's all. We finally, I think, are really and truly in autumnal weather. I know I've said this before, but we solidly are. I actually put the electric blanket on the bed finally. So the cats are enjoying that, at least. At least that's helpful. I think they're all napping on the electric blanket a lot. But we haven't turned the heat on yet. It has yet to get below freezing overnight. So we will see. But I think that also really helps. The weather being kind of crisp and gloomy-ish helps me a lot with my reading vibes. So I'm trying to lean into that and embrace the autumnal. So I think that is all for my week this week. I don't have any recommendations because I have been very intermittent and irregular with what I've been watching on YouTube. And it's been all over the place and very half-hearted or half-minded, I would say. I've kind of had things in the background trying to keep watching and having to rewatch because I'm just not paying attention. So it's been a lot of that, unfortunately, and I'm just having to try to have grace with myself. So I hope we all will have grace with one another and what we're doing in BookTube land for the next little while. So as always, I'm very glad to have you here with me again for this week's check-in, and thank you so very much for watching.